Movies. We all watch them. Probably, I assume anyway. My question is, what were the best and worst movies of 2025? Was 2025 a good year for movies? Maybe. Okay, in last place, I have The Old Guard 2. And you might be going, Ryan, what is that? It's a sequel to The Old Guard. Duh, but it's a Charlize Theron action movie. I actually like the first one quite a bit. Now I am a sucker for Charlize Theron. I do like bad, just kind of generic action movies sometimes. The second one is not even a complete movie. They leave it on a cliffhanger. Like if you're gonna leave a cliffhanger for the next movie, you have to at least make the one you're watching feel like it's completed its arc, like it's a finished movie. I did like the Toxic Yuri though. That's kind of fun. There's kind of one action sequence in the entire movie that I actually thought was pretty fun. And aside from that, I didn't really care. So there's that. All right, and then after that we have a Minecraft movie. Oh wow. I mean I knew I wasn't really going to think it was the best movie ever made, but it was actually worse than I thought it was going to be. I still had an inkling of fun, but it was just pretty damn bad. There's maybe a couple of characters I like in this movie. I don't really care about what happens in it. I don't care if the characters live or die, and they're not gonna die because it's a Minecraft movie, but you get what I'm saying. Like, yes, this is a children's movie, so it's not like I can really criticize it that deeply, but also there are lots of children's movies that are genuinely really good, and so this is not one of them. I don't really like how it looks. You never escape the feeling that every one of these characters is just on a large green screen set. Obviously, it's going to get a sequel. I can't imagine it would get any better. All right, and now we have The Fountain of Youth, which is a movie with John Krasinski. Basically, he is looking for the Fountain of Youth. It's kind of a Nathan Drake type story. His father was some well-known treasure hunter type of deal, and he's kind of that character that gets in trouble a lot but is really good at what he does. He has a sister, Natalie Portman. Yeah, Natalie Portman. So she's the one that's like, oh, I don't know if we should be doing this. Oh, and then she gets dragged along in it, and it was a very generic, fairly boring, just one of these action movies. You know the ones. Again, I had some fun with it, but all right, and then after that we have The Conjuring Last Rites. I have seen every Conjureverse movie, even the Curse of the La Llorona one that they don't even include for some reason. I don't particularly think this franchise is good. I like some of the Annabelle movies. And Last Rites, it's the end of the Warren story, I guess, maybe, and until we inevitably do a sequel with just the Warren daughter and her boyfriend, husband. Yeah, this movie was pretty disappointing. It just felt like a rehash of the first two Conjuring movies, but now the Warrens have a daughter in the mix. They're worried about her, and it's this family thing, really anticlimactic, actual paranormal activity stuff going on, and not very exciting. All right, and now we have The Gorge, which is, I believe, an Apple original movie. It has Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy. The idea with this one is that these two people from different countries are basically set up on opposite ends of this large gorge. They are basically set in a watchtower, and they're told to defend from anything that comes out of that gorge. And they're not allowed to contact each other, but they do. They get hot for each other. This was kind of just a letdown. Not in that I was expecting anything out of it, but more in that the premise is really cool. Then you watch the movie and you go, I don't care about the actual two main characters, which is a problem. I think that what's going on in the gorge is pretty cool, and I won't spoil that for you if you want to watch this movie, but I think it has some cool designs, some cool ideas, but I don't think it ever gets executed very well. I think it's just kind of a fine watch. All right, and now we have Novocaine with Jack Quaid. Now this is another one of those just kind of action movies, and the idea is that Jack Quaid's character he has that thing where he doesn't feel pain. Basically, his girlfriend or something ends up getting kidnapped, so he goes on this whole thing to try and save her, but he gets horribly beat up in the process, but doesn't feel it because he doesn't feel pain. I think it's an entertaining watch. I like Jack Quaid. I think that there are some funny moments because it is a comedy. This is an action movie that I would throw on when I'm fucking really bored and I just want something to watch mindlessly. Alright, and now we have Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Ultimately, I do not like the FNAF movies that much, but here's my general gist, right? I thought the first one was very, very fucking average and kind of boring and kind of stupid. I went to this one and I said, wow, this is by far a worse movie, but I actually had a more fun time watching it. I like that the animatronics are given much more to do because the animatronics are my favorite part, aside from Matthew Lillard, but he's not in these movies enough for me to rank the movies higher because of that. But yeah, I think the writing and the acting and the weird plot stuff in this movie are absolutely terrible, actually, but I like the animatronics, and I think that there are more fun sequences, and I think that this is a so bad it's good type movie, which I would much prefer to watch over a boring average movie. So that's why I personally rate it higher than the first movie, even though it is a worse film. All right, and this is a bit of a strange one to have this high up, I think, for a lot of people, but we have the Until Dawn movie. What happened when this movie came out and the trailer started showing up is people got in a whole big fuss saying, well, that's not Until Dawn. What the fuck are we doing here? Kind of, it's not a true adaptation of the Until Dawn story, but it does take place in the same universe. What happened with this movie is I watched it and I went, that was a very average horror movie. Nothing really special in that department, but I do actually quite like the weird lore that they're implementing. But Peter Stormare as Dr. Hill is in this movie. That's not a spoiler. He's in the trailers and everything. But what I will say is that he connects the movie and the game in a very fascinating way. And I actually like the story behind Dr. Hill a lot in this. And I like the implications of it all, and there are some Easter eggs that you can see or notice in the background that does directly connect this to the game. I liked it on a lore sense. On a horror movie sense, I was just went, yeah, this is average. All right, and now we have I Know What You Did Last Summer. This is a legacy sequel, and I think they fucked up with this one. I liked a lot of this movie, actually. I thought that it was a entertaining watch. I might be on my own on that opinion. When I was in the movie theater watching this, I was one of 3 people in the theater. There was a couple in front of me. At some point, a little over halfway through, they left. So, you know, maybe you could take that as a sign of whether you'll like this movie or not. I don't want to spoil anything because these are all new movies and I just want to give a general idea. I think this movie really, really does a terrible thing. It is fucking stupid and it does not make any sense and it is unbelievable. I would have liked this movie a lot more, but that one little thing really brought it down for me. All right, and now we have Clown in a Cornfield. This is a slasher movie. This is based on a story, a book, I think. I think that this is a pretty fun, kind of more entry-level slasher horror type of movie, so I enjoyed it for that. It's a little bit generic. The idea is this girl and her dad end up moving to this small town. There's some weird stuff going on. There's a killer clown. There's a twist in this movie that I wasn't expecting, actually, and I was surprised to see it. Up up until a certain point, and then I went, oh, so there's a twist, but then there's kind of a secondary twist, and you know what the secondary twist is going to be once the original twist comes out. So it's not that cool, but I remember the kills being fairly fun. I remember liking the characters quite a bit. I think this is just a pretty fun slasher movie, and if you're looking for one to watch, I would recommend it. All right, and now we have Weapons. This is probably my most controversial take of the entire year, is that I didn't really like Weapons that much. I do not understand how any movie ranking site or whatever is putting Weapons above Sinners in any sense of the matter. I do not think this movie is that good. I think that it's a kind of fun, kind of entertaining watch. I like Agnes, is that her name? I think that she's fun. I don't like the format this movie does. This movie does a weird non-linear character perspective type of format. It just doesn't work for me here. I think it really breaks up the tension. It doesn't really have a payoff. If you're gonna do this type of thing, you kind of need to have a good payoff, and it just never does that for me. I thought it was fairly generic and not that well made. Like, cinematography and stuff is good, but I don't know, I just wasn't my favorite. And then we have Jurassic World Rebirth. I wasn't going into this thinking that it was going to be very good, and I was right. It's not that good. If you like dinosaurs, which is the main reason I'm here, then there is fun to be had, which is why this movie is even up this high. Like the T-Rex raft scene, genuinely one of the most joyful experiences I had in a theater this year. The main cast, I don't like. The secondary family, I like them. And then the human plot is just kind of, no. And it takes way too long to get started, and there's way too much product placement. It is a mess of a movie with some great dinosaur moments that just make me smile, so it gets slightly higher up. Oh yeah, and then we have Thunderbolts. I forgot that came out this year. It's really the only MCU movie that I've been even had a slight inkling to want to go and see in theaters, because I thought it could be good, and I thought it was pretty decent. I don't think it's the best movie ever made. I don't think it's the best MCU movie ever made, but it's definitely higher up there than a lot of the other MCU movies as of late. I think that it has a fairly fun story. I like the characters a lot. A good outing in a kind of a very bad spot for the MCU currently. All right, and then we have Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. This is the last Mission Impossible movie. I think that Tom Cruise should have retired a little while ago from the franchise. If you've watched all of the Mission Impossible movies, this one is kind of a mess because there's a lot of reminiscing on the past by showing it. And I go, yeah, I know. I've seen the movies, actually. There are really two main parts of this movie that are good, and they are the main action set pieces, the submarine and the airplane stuff. Those are definitely great, but a lot of this movie is just kind of too much. It's too much. It doesn't know what to do. For me, it's a satisfying, kind of good wrap up for a good amount of the characters, and I think that it's a good conclusion to the franchise. It's not the best movie in it, but I think that it's a fine conclusion. All right, and then we have Dangerous Animals, and this is an Australian shark serial killer movie. The shark serial killer, because the shark is not a serial killer. There's a man, he likes to kidnap women and then kill them by having sharks eat them. Genuinely disturbing. It has some fun moments in it, quite a bit. I like the actual tension and the pacing in this one quite a lot. I think the acting is really good. This is one of those movies that I watch and I go, I'm glad I watched this. I'm glad this is in my horror repertoire. And then after that, and I think this is another one that will upset some people, I have Superman. I did like this movie. It's in the section of this list of movies I like quite a bit. It's just not as high up as I think a lot of people would put it. I've never been a Superman fan. I think that this movie does a fine job of setting up Superman as an enjoyable character. I still don't love him. I'm not in love with him, which is what I was hoping when I went to see this movie, but I didn't get that. I do think that the general story ideas here are fun. I don't know that they all work together that well for me. There's some character stuff here and there that I don't care that much about, but I do really like Lex Luthor being a little baby, a little whiny baby. I think that's fun. I like the general messaging of this movie, which is fuck anti-immigration stuff and fuck genocides. Like, yeah, fucking duh. But yeah, I like that this is a blockbuster movie that is willing to say that, and it just reminds me that James Gunn knows how to make a good movie. All right, and now we have Drop. This is the movie about the girl that keeps getting airdrops on her phone telling her to like do stuff and kill her date. I think that this is actually kind of simple in some ways in that there's not a ton going on, but I do think that it is a very fun movie, and I think that it actually nails that tension and does a good job making you try and like figure things out with the character, with the final girl. I think it's just a nice, fun little idea that is executed quite well, and I enjoyed it a lot. All right, and now we have another Jack Quaid movie, and that is Companion. Basically, Jack Quaid has a girlfriend who I'm not afraid to say, because they don't hide it that for that long, who is a robot or an android of sorts, and there's some shenanigans going on about this that make it really fun to watch. There are just so many little character interactions that really make you go, hey, ooh, that's what I want. And I think that this is a very fun movie and it's very well made. All right, and now we have Good Boy. Oh, this is such a special movie. So this is a movie that is basically kind of like a paranormal activity horror movie type of deal, but it's from the dog's perspective. Let me get this clear. You're not looking out of the eyes of the dog, except for sometimes you are looking at the dog as if it is a horror character like a final girl or something, but the dog is the main character. Most of this movie I think is fairly generic. I don't think it's necessarily that scary or that unique in terms of the horror department, but what happened to get this movie to be made is goddamn incredible. You have a literal dog acting in a movie, and dogs don't know how to act. They just gotta work with this. What the fuck just happened to me? And I was so impressed by this movie that I had to look it up afterwards. And they spent 3 years making this movie. But this dog, oh, it's the bestest boy. Such a good pupper. This is just a special movie, and it actually made me cry. If you have a pet, a dog or a cat or whatever that you love to pieces, I think that this is a really good horror movie for you to watch. All right, and now we have Heart Eyes, directed by Josh Rubin, who you may know from Dropout if you're a fellow Dropout fan. This is a good slasher. Yeah, it has Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding I know him from Scream. It is a funny movie. I don't think it's like the best thing I've ever seen. I don't think it's the best slasher, but it is a very well regarded movie by me. I like the killer's design. I like the actual relationship between the two main characters. I think it's pretty sweet by the end of it, and I also think it's pretty damn funny. So yeah, I highly recommend Hard Eyes. All right, and now we have Lost in Starlight, which is an animated Korean movie which released on Netflix, and it's not K-pop Demon Hunters. This is a romance anime, I want to say. It's like a sci-fi romance kind of, but mostly romance. And I think that this is just an absolutely gorgeous movie. Whenever I see a movie like this, I go, fuck, it's gonna be so beautiful and I'm probably gonna cry. And I was right. I think that this is genuinely probably one of the most accurate portrayals of romance that I've seen in a movie. And I'm not really joking about that. I feel like most of the romance I see ends up kind of being a little not realistic in my eyes. But yeah, if you're looking for a beautiful movie that might maybe make you cry, I'm gonna recommend it. All right, and now we have a movie that I think is going to be in a lot of people's top 10 lists of the year, maybe even number one, and that is One Battle After Another. This is a Leonardo DiCaprio movie. It also has Sean Penn, and I really want to shout out Chase Infinity, the daughter, because she does a great job. Holy hell. I don't know how else to describe it, but this is one of those movies that I look at and I go, oh, this is a grade A Hollywood movie. That's not a bad thing because I said grade A. And this is one of those movies that's like prime Academy Awards material. I don't think it's like the best movie ever made. It's just not for me. I did really enjoy it. I liked watching it a lot. I think that there are a lot of fun sequences and the characters are incredible. I really like the characters, but also I just love the story. I like movies that have a good story like this, so I'm gonna recommend it. And then we have Mickey 17, same director as Parasite, but not even remotely in the same vein as Parasite, which I think is perfectly fine, and I really enjoyed this movie. Robert Pattinson gets to play multiple versions of himself in this movie, and I keep forgetting that that man knows how to act really fucking well. No, but seriously, this is a really fun movie. It's not quite what I was expecting. If you have expectations, kind of try to shove those out of your brain because you might end up being disappointed. I don't think it's going to end up being what you maybe want it to be, but I do think that it is a fun movie and that it has a really fun message. And, you know, a lot of people in reviews are like, not heavy-handed at all. And I'm like, whatever, man. I don't know how you would do this and not make it heavy-handed. Fucking whatever. All right, and now we have Queens of the Dead. Oh, this is such a fun one. This might be one of my favorites of the year. It's not technically up there because I think it's not as good of a movie, but for me personally, it might be up there. It is a zombie movie with drag queens and it's queer as hell, which I personally love very much. Now, this is made by Tina Romero, which is George A. Romero's daughter, and I just know that he would be so proud of her for this. He is the one that basically invented modern zombie movies. It's very funny. I wasn't expecting it to be as much of a comedy as it was. I laughed heartily quite a few times. I just love seeing these movies be made. Hell yeah. All right, and then we have Wake Up Dead Man, the third Knives Out movie, and once again, I enjoyed it a lot. I think that the actual mystery for me was fairly obvious. I had a good idea of what was going to happen, but I do really enjoy the characters in this one, which is kind of a given for one of these movies. I obviously love Daniel Craig. I love him in these movies and in general, actually. But what I will say is that I think my favorite part about this movie is the ways that it actually provides a nuanced take on Christianity. I guess technically religion as a whole, but more so Christianity. It's basically saying, yes, Christianity can be good and it can help people. However, with the wrong people, oh my God, it can be terrible. I like it. It's a nuanced take that you don't see very often, but I appreciated it. Okay, now we have Influencers, which is a sequel to Influencer. I liked it more than the original, but this one is a sequel to the first movie, which ended with the killer, the girl, basically being left on an island and the final girl surviving. In this movie, the killer escaped the island somehow and she has never been tracked down by the police. And frankly, the police don't even believe the final girl. The final girl is still struggling because she's being accused of stuff. Now she's going after the killer to try and set herself free in a way. And I just love the characters in this movie. I love a movie that's not afraid to call out right-wing grifters because fuck you. Really fun movie, especially you do need to watch Influencer if you're going to watch this one, but I like it more than the first movie, so I think it's worth it. All right, and here's my hot take that people don't agree with. It's Him, the football horror movie. I already talked about this movie quite a bit in my 75 horror movies, so I'm not going to do it that much, but all I will say is I freaking really liked this movie. I especially liked it because it is very much calling out toxic masculinity and the patriarchy and how that those systems get handed down from man to man to boy to man to boy to man, or whatever however you want to say it. And I think that it's done quite well. I think this is visually a very fun movie and I like the acting a lot. And then we have Predator Killer of Killers. Again, I'm not going to talk about it that much because because I did a whole Predator video, but Predator Killer of Killers is an animated Predator movie, so I think it's very fun in that regard. I like the 3 different timelines that you get and how they connect eventually at the end. I think it's a fun one with some good action and some good animation. Alright, and then we have The Ugly Stepsister, and this is I don't know what country it's from, but it's a very good horror movie. It's more horrific. There are horror moments, but this one is more the situation, the idea is horrific. It is, in a lot of ways, body horror. I think that's probably kind of the main genre of horror it fits into, and there is one scene that was hard to watch. One of the most disgusting things I've seen in a movie as of late, so props. I like this take on the story. I think it's very well acted. It's a very beautiful movie too in a lot of ways. I think that this is a special one, and I love the way that it kind of talks on beauty culture and the way that women are kind of seen as objects and that they have to be present a certain way to be wanted or desired. You know what I'm saying? All right, and then we finally have K-pop Demon Hunters. I had to watch it. I'm gonna be honest, I don't usually love musicals, but hear me out. I don't tend to love musicals where the music feels kind of generic or that it doesn't feel like it is important to the story at all. This one absolutely does not fit any of those descriptors, because the music is incredible, and part of why I love this movie as much as I do. I do like the characters. I like the kind of the main girl and the main guy leads. I think the other 2 girls of the Demon Hunter group, Huntrix, I believe is their name, but I wish they had more to do in this movie. If we are given a sequel, I'd love to see them have a little bit more development, see more of who they are. I get why this movie had to focus on what it focused on, but I just kind of wish that there was a little bit more. But overall, a very fun watch, very good movie. All right, and then we have Frankenstein, the Guillermo del Toro movie. I have never once found Jacob Elordi attractive until now. I love the book. It's more of an adaptation of the book than most Frankenstein stories, because most Frankenstein movies or stories end up portraying the monster as some dumb idiot, and it makes me like squirm in my seat a little. This one does not do that. I really like this one. I think everything about this movie is beautiful. This is just one of those movies that is superb in how it is crafted and how it is made. This movie makes the story less ambiguous of who is bad and who is good. There's no doubt you definitely side with the monster, and you definitely hate Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein. And for the most part, I have no problems with that. The one thing I'll say is that the ending kind of upset me. I think that it's a little too easy and a little too of a romantic ending, not in a love, let's make out way, more in a classical sense. I like some parts about the ending, I just don't like how the relationships get resolved. I'll say that. All right, and then we have The Long Walk, which is a Stephen King adaptation, and it should not be as good as it is for a movie that is about people walking. The entire movie is people just fucking walking, and they made it thoroughly entertaining throughout. I'm impressed by all of the acting. All of the actors in this movie do such a good job. This is just one of those ones that had one of the most kind of emotional impact on me, and the characters and the story are just beautiful. I think it's really good. Oh yeah, by the way, that was top 5. That was the 5th one. So now in 4th place, we have 28 Years Later. This is one of those movies that people either didn't like or they did like quite a bit. And I'm in the, I very much like this movie. I like it more than any of the 28 Days Later movies, of which there are 2. I really like the story in this one. Again, it is calling out toxic masculinity. You can see a theme for what types of stories I like. But I think that this is a beautiful looking movie. It is by far the best looking 28 blank later movies. I really like that this movie is about the boy, about the son. This had a real big emotional hit at the end that got me real good. And let's just say it's something I can relate to. All right, and in 3rd place, we have Predator Badlands. Oh, I thought it was incredible. Oh my God, it's so fun. These are the types of movies that I will gobble them up. I really enjoy getting to see a movie from the Yautja's perspective. I really like the evolution of the Yautja, the main Yautja dude's character arc. It's a very fun, action-filled blockbuster type of movie that isn't a blockbuster because it's a Predator movie, but you know what I'm saying, and I highly recommend it. All right, and then the last two I've already talked about, so I'm gonna go through them a little bit quickly. At second place, we have Final Destination Bloodlines. This movie I don't think should realistically be this high, but I really enjoy the Final Destination franchise, minus 4 and 5. Those two movies I do not like, especially 4, but this one was a very fun outing. I really like the story. I think that it's fun. I like the characters. This is one of the Final Destination movies where I like the characters the most, and Tony Todd gets what I think is probably the perfect send-off. Tony Todd as an actor is really important to me because of how he got me into horror, and so it has like a little sentimental place in my heart, which is why I think it's in second place, but it's still a really good movie. And then in first place is Sinners. Is that a surprise? I doubt it. It's a goddamn beautiful movie. One of the best sequences in film that I've seen in a fucking long time. Definitely this year, it's the best. And I just think everything about it is super well crafted, very well acted, fun premise, fun historical stuff. Just a great movie. But with that being said, how was the year as a whole? Well, to be honest, there's really only like 3 movies that I didn't care for, and then like 5 or 6 movies that I just kind of thought were very mid. Out of 36, that's a pretty good percentage of movies that I had fun with in some way or that I enjoyed. So I think 2025 was a good year for movies, at least for me. What about for you? Let me know in the comments down below. What was your favorite movie of the year? What was your least favorite? Anyway, I hope you're having a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.